warm welcome to you. How wonderful that you're here with us. We are many people around the world who are just connecting to call our new living earth into existence. Together we will now consciously and intentionally activate our God-given creative power. For every beautiful image of a healed earth that we allow to arise within us acts like a magnet on a physical level and in a morphogenetic field. Let us begin with becoming present in the here and now. Close your eyes for a moment and direct your attention to your breath. Observe how the air flows in and out without your doing. Now, turn your attention to the soles of your feet. Feel how they touch the earth. Now visualize how roots grow from your feet deep into the earth. Feel how they gently and powerfully bore through the humus, deeper and deeper through the layers of rock until they reach deep into Mother Earth. You notice how your roots connect with the other roots around you, how they begin to communicate with each other. Feel the benevolent power and strength of Mother Earth beneath you, caring and nourishing you. Send her your gratitude and feel how she sends her love back to you. Power flows through you like a mighty tree. Feel your huge crown opening up to the light of the sun. And see a column of light forming from your crown to the divine source. Now send your joy through this channel to the divine source. And feel how you are flooded with life force. Now send the stream of love that you receive from the earth and the stream of life force with which you are always nourished by the divine source into your heart. Breathe deeply in through your heart and out through your heart. Feel the love that you are within you, firmly anchored in your heart. Feel the power that you carry within you, that you are. Remember that you are endowed with the power to create realities. Now repeat the following sentences to yourself. Speak them out if you wish. I am ready. By virtue of my birth as a human being, and as the creative being that I am, I hereby claim my birthright to live paradise here on earth. By virtue of my divine connection, by virtue of my gift of vision, and by virtue of my love, I decide here and now for this paradise, that it will enter my life and the lives of all beings on this planet. Now you are invited to hear the beautiful vision of the New Earth Manifesto and let the images arise within you. See the earth on which we all want to live in the most colorful images possible. Hear them, smell them, taste them, feel them. Immerse yourself in this paradise that now wants to be born through you. The New Earth Manifesto. Chapter 1. Health of all life. The foundation of life on Earth is fertile soil, the humus. The priority is therefore to detoxify our soils, build up humus, and improve the soil health on a private, agricultural and forestry level. For this purpose, composting, farm manure processing and humus building seminars are offered. In our fields, meadows and beds, toxic sprays and fertilizers are replaced by high-quality composts, life-promoting microorganisms and other biological organic fertilizers, which, together with species-rich plant communities and special crop rotations, promotes numerous symbioses in the soil and thus the natural formation of humus. Sealed land areas that are no longer required, such as industrial sites or large parking lots, are being reclaimed and made available to the community in order to create community gardens or healing forests with edible fruits. On large agricultural areas, hedges are planted with flowers, fruits and nut trees, sweet chestnuts and so on to feed insects, especially bees, but also people, to direct the winds, and to provide living niches for birds and other animals. A variety of plants grow in the fields and gardens, supporting each other's growth and vitality. The chirping of birds, the buzzing of insects, and the songs of people encourage and accompany the harmonious growth of plants. Only organic farms are promoted that sustainably improve the health of soil, plants, animals and people, as well as biodiversity. Farmers from medium-sized or small organic farms determine the agricultural policy. All other farmers receive free training in sustainable and organic land management systems that improve soil health as the basis for the health of all life. Farmers are supported to market their products regionally. The courses also teach new forms of highly efficient vegetable, berry and fruit cultivation, such as permaculture, agroforestry, syntropic agriculture or vertical gardening. Products still produced conventionally, as well as their toxic ingredients, must be labeled. In the transition phase, non-biological products are subject to a toxin and pollutant tax. The money gained through this toxin tax flows directly into the conversion of farms to organic farming. The community supports independent and non-profit seed initiatives and seed swap circles to preserve and expand the diversity of our food and medicinal plants. There are no patents on seeds or other living beings. Purification and revitalization of all waters. Dynamic, vital, healthy and clean water flows from all water pipes. Rivers, streams and wetlands are being renatured as far as this is possible and ecologically worthwhile. Water is kept in the region. The best water purification, irrigation and flood protection measure is the revitalization of soils, because a living, healthy and humus-rich soil can absorb, purify and store many times more water. Species-rich permanent forests and wetlands ensure that the evaporated water remains in the lower layers of the air, where it promotes dew formation and serves the regional water cycle. Where necessary, wastewater treatment plants are renewed using the best natural methods. Wastewater is cleaned by plants, microorganisms, and composting techniques before it flows back into the water cycle. Large marine areas are placed under protection. Regional fisheries that respect marine life are replacing large-scale industrial fishing and trawling. Marine cleanup and marine regeneration projects receive generous and energetic support from the community and the government. Purification of the air we breathe. The use of exhaust gases and toxic spray mist containing aluminum, metal and/or toxins is strictly prohibited. The emission of fine dust and air pollution of any kind is reduced to an absolute minimum. Since healthy ecosystems with a high diversity of tree species are highly effective in purifying the air, such ecosystems are created both in cities and in cleared cultivated landscapes. As a result, the air we breathe, with its health-promoting air microbiome and its healing ions, once again becomes a giver of pure life energy. 60% of all forests, the lungs of our earth and producers of pure oxygen, are placed under nature protection. The destruction of ecosystems is considered a crime against life. Areas that have been deforested in recent centuries are reforested under the guidance of future-oriented foresters who think and feel holistically and have a global vision for forest ecosystems. Special attention is paid to their positive impact on people's immune system, climate regulation, and the local water cycle. Holistic forest management courses are offered to foresters, forest owners, and all interested people. Healing foods. Artificial additives of any kind are only used if a panel of doctors, biologists, and alternative practitioners from various fields has determined their harmlessness for all life. Industrial sugar, synthetic salts, refined fats, and denatured foods have led in recent decades to an unnatural increase in allergies, obesity, and diet-related diseases. These are being replaced by wholesome and healing natural foods with their multitude of micronutrients. Edible wild local plants such as sloes, rosehips, goatweed, stinging nettles or dandelions in mid-Europe, for example, are also finding a permanent place in the human diet again and replace superfoods from faraway countries. The cultivation of wild herb meadows and a variety of old plant species are promoted. The plants are combined in such a way that a symbiotic environment is created, and the plants protect each other from pest infestation. The resulting improved soil health protects against disasters such as floods and drought. Genetically modified seeds are no longer used. Farmers and gardeners regained their autonomy in terms of access, reproduction, and exchange of seeds. Environmentally friendly and pollutant-free production. Scientists work hand in hand with practitioners and production companies to increase ecological efficiency in production and to manufacture components that cannot be produced from purely natural raw materials as ethical, environmentally friendly, and recyclable as possible, considering the well-being of future beings on our planet. Nature's brilliant solutions serve as an inspiring model. The majority of textiles are made from natural and renewable raw materials. Hemp and flax cultivation and the cultivation of other ecologically valuable crops enjoy great popularity. In the transition phase, whenever possible, man-made materials are recycled, repaired, and made into new materials in an environmentally friendly process. The ecological footprint is declared on the labels of all products, in particular with regard to what the materials are made of, how fairly they were produced, and how efficient their expected life cycle is. The principles are recycling before new raw material extraction, natural before chemical products. The extraction of raw materials is carried out in a respectful manner and in awareness of the strain on planet Earth and its local communities. The used water is returned to the water cycle in a purified and revitalized state. During extraction, local biodiversity is largely preserved and, in parallel, renaturation is carried out in a way that increases biodiversity and species diversity. Every living being is treated with respect and mindfulness. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Mahatma Gandhi. Any form of slavery violence, or exploitation of humans or animals is considered a crime against life. Any form of animal cruelty, cage or factory farming, as well as laboratory experiments with animals and cross-regional animal transports for consumption purposes are a thing of the past. Animal communication enables people to find out what animals need for their well-being. Animals in zoos and animal parks are free to choose whether they stay in zoos or opt for a life in freedom or in special protected areas. Parks with a variety of plants and fruit-bearing trees have been created on the land of zoos. Roads leading from the countryside to these parks have been cleared of concrete and now invite wildlife to enter, eat, and voluntarily interact with humans. Our vision is that in the near future, animals will no longer be killed. For the transition phase until then, we recommend the following. Every animal that is not allowed to live in freedom because it contributes to the production of milk or other animal products is provided with a large enclosure in nature together with its own kind, as well as objects to play with. The horses, cows and bulls have a beautiful life in the great outdoors, supporting the stabilization and rebuilding of the humans. These animals live with people who have a loving, caring, and harmonious relationship with them. They are offered only natural, species-appropriate and varied feed. Cows, of course, are allowed to keep their horns. Only essential medication is given, and only ever, at each animal owner's discretion. Animals are killed if necessary in their natural and familiar environment with as little suffering as possible, while being perceived and honored as sentient beings. Since the forests are recovering and the ecosystems are back in their natural balance, there's no overpopulation of animals in the forests and no need for regulation by humans. We advocate a shift to a plant-based way of life, recognizing that plants are sentient creatures. They are honored and respectfully harvested and prepared. Our hospitals are being transformed into holistic healing spaces. A new concept of healing and the construction of correlating holistic spaces are developed and implemented in conjunction with the knowledge and experience of medical doctors, alternative practitioners, geomancers, feng shui specialists, etc. In the transition phase, existing hospitals are made more healing-friendly with plants, therapy animals, natural scents, natural light frequencies, and images of nature, and adapted to keep out low and high frequency radiation, electrosmog. The new healing centers are surrounded by species-rich healing forests with special forest therapy paths based on the model of the Japanese Shinrin-yoku, with mindfulness paths, streams and bodies of water. Animals and plants are therapeutic helpers. Special farms connected to the healing centers offer therapy solutions for drug addicts or other people prone to addiction, including digital detox therapies, and provide healthy organic food grown on site for the healing centers. Within the concept of healing, the following principles are acknowledged. Humans are highly developed spiritual beings that are not just physical bodies. They are multidimensional beings with several etheric bodies, including the physical body, mental body, emotional body, energy body, causal body, that are interconnected and interact with one another. Human beings are part of the Earth ecosystem, a living organism connected on all levels. The 5 biological laws of nature. All living beings have excellent self-healing powers and an immune system that must be supported primarily and at all levels in order to prevent and heal diseases. Furthermore, all living beings have healing powers which they can use to support other living beings. Every illness has a message. Everything we encounter in our lives is seen as an opportunity for healing and growth. From now on, medicine no longer focuses on the symptoms, but on identifying the causes and preventing the disease. In the new healing centers, holistic therapy methods are applied that respond to people's individual needs. Preventive measures, such as regular, accompanied fasting cures or courses in knowledge and methods for self-help, are promoted. Healing methods that have helped people heal through the power of nature and spirit for centuries, such as homeopathy, traditional Chinese medicine, traditional European medicine, or anthroposophical medicine, as well as new, well-tested and already successfully applied healing methods based on quantum, frequencies, energy, information, are fully recognized, applied and taught. Natural, locally grown and produced remedies are preferred, as these have hardly any side effects compared to the products of the pharmaceutical industry, are better assimilated by the human organism, and also benefit local producers. In order not to weaken people's natural microbiome with chemical disinfectants, preference is given to life-enhancing microorganisms, ozone or hydrogen peroxide for disinfection, and natural agents such as vinegar, baking soda or ferment 7-oxy for cleaning. The doctors speak openly and, without being asked, provide information on the side effects of any drugs they prescribe in a clear and transparent way. While in the old system one earned from people's illness, now the highest reward of people working in the healing professions is the health of all patients. The birth of humans and animals is respected as a sacred ritual. Women are given free access to prenatal classes developed by experienced, holistically thinking and feeling midwives and doulas. Women decide for themselves how and where they want to give birth, whether in birth centers, at home or outdoors, in the forest, in the sea or at special power places. In any case, protected, in peace and quiet, and in a circle of their family or other women. Children are born naturally, and all natural processes of birth are respected and allowed. Invasive interventions are avoided wherever possible. Every child is accompanied into the world in a dignified, loving, gentle and attentive manner. In order to strengthen the bond of love between parents and child, the baby is nurtured with a feeling of security and love from the very beginning. The child spends the first years of its life in loving, close contact with its family. To provide the baby with the best nutrients of natural breast milk, women are optimally supported in breastfeeding their babies. Unwantingly pregnant women are supported in all areas of life. Women who, for whatever reason, do not want to keep their babies with them can connect, while they are still pregnant, to the couples who will lovingly take care of their baby after birth. Receive the children with reverence, educate them in love, and send them forth in freedom. Rudolf Steiner. By losing the fear of death and recognizing ourselves as an infinite and immortal being, we'll also lose the fear of living. He who is no longer afraid of death, he is no longer so easily manipulated. Together with death counselors of all regions, courses are created that enable people to learn to grieve freely and develop a dignified approach to the subject of death, free from fear, and also learn to freely allow and process their feelings of pain and grief. Relatives are allowed to keep the body of their loved one laid out at home or in a sacred room so that the soul can slowly and gently detach itself from the body, and relatives have enough time to say goodbye to their loved ones. By composting our bodies in healthy, living soil or in specially created systems, we gratefully return them to the cycle of life. Taking into account the values of different cultures and religions, cremations of bodies containing many toxins or similar are preferable for groundwater hygienic reasons. Relatives should be free to decide where they want to scatter the ashes. Each culture can bury the bodies of its loved ones in its own way, with due regard for the well-being of all life. Forest burials and tree burials are also becoming increasingly popular. Slowly, cemeteries are transforming into cemetery forests. Every person leaves behind at least 2 trees in their lifetime. One is planted at birth and one at death. The first takes root in the placenta, the second takes root in the body. Technical progress serves life and not the other way around. Any form of artificially applied technology that can negatively affect living organisms or the entire Earth will be shut down and dismantled, such as cable-free telecommunication technologies without a safety check, especially 5G, artificial intelligence, microchips, digital ID, IoT, smart meters, video surveillance systems, mind-controlling technologies, and artificial weather modification. Artificial intelligence is only used where it is beneficial to all life, under no circumstances for the surveillance and control of people. We acknowledge that all living beings on Earth are inextricably linked with the natural terrestrial and cosmic electromagnetic fields and can only truly recover or stay healthy if we are in undisturbed resonance with these cycles and frequencies of the Earth and the cosmos. Research into and the immediate implementation of telecommunication technologies that are harmless to humans, animals and plants have the highest priority. As long as the healing frequencies are not available for use, computers indoors are connected to the internet via cables. Once buildings are wired, the need for wireless communication decreases and radiation output of oversized outdoor antennas can be reduced. Well-researched and long-term tested healing frequencies will be used for regeneration in the future. In every country, there are radiation-free areas in which sick and radiation-sensitive people can settle or recover. Light frequencies that serve the human immune system. There are now only light sources that are adapted to the natural light spectrum, that are harmless to all living creatures, and that have a minimal impact on the environment during production, use, and recycling. All external, unnatural light sources are reduced by at least 40% at night, and streetlights are shielded so that they do not shine into the night sky. Beaches where animals lay their eggs are no longer artificially lit, so that newly hatched baby animals are not disturbed in their natural behavior. The health of space is essential for our life. The sky, as an integral part of all life, must be protected. Satellites, space weapons, or other technical devices which disrupt the natural cosmic frequencies that enable healthy life on Earth will be dismantled. The space debris is transported back to Earth and recycled here without leaving any residue. 13 Moon Calendar. We return together to a 13 moon calendar that is in harmony with the natural rhythms and cycles of the Earth. Thus we have 13 times 28 days, plus a day of gratitude for creation that is celebrated worldwide. We honor the specific qualities of time frames, celebrate meaningful rituals, The annual Wheel of the Year festivals of our ancestors in deep connection with the earth and nature. The deeply felt gifts come from our tangible connection with the earth. Therefore, there is no need to buy gifts that generate unnecessary waste. Chapter 2: Development of Potential. You can only learn in a really sustainable way if you go to work with passion, enthusiasm, and deep joy. Gerald Hüther. Children are supported in developing their full individual potential. As a spirit-gifted being, every child has, from birth on, its own inner learning plan. Joy of life, health, self-confidence, thirst for knowledge, the ability to concentrate and cooperate, a sense of responsibility, perseverance, and active commitment to the community can be observed in young people who are allowed to develop themselves according to their inner learning plan. The social behavior is shaped by role models. The more respectfully and mindful a child is treated, the more it will encounter itself, nature, and fellow human beings with mindfulness and respect. Alexandra Terzic-Auer. Children and adults meet each other at eye level. Children are supported in remembering the extraordinary human potential inherent in us. They grow up in a loving, safe environment, develop healthy self-awareness, self-esteem, and are encouraged to disagree, question what they have learned, think for themselves, and find answers within themselves. The teachers and guides of the children are filled with their calling and desire to optimally accompany the children into their highest potential. The first place for life and heart formation is the family. The second place is the community, village, in which experience spaces, learning spaces, and development spaces are provided, which are designed together with the children. Parents and children are free to choose whether they want to learn freely at these learning places or at home. At these learning locations, children are invited to playfully live out their inherent joy of discovery with all their senses and, above all, in direct contact with nature. Their individual physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual needs are lovingly respected. These spaces are creative adventure playgrounds where practical, artistic, philosophical, or spiritual questions, the exploration of the world, are not solved purely through the mind, but through the interaction of body, mind, and heart. Here, learning content that complies with the principles of nature is not just taught, but experienced from an early age, first-hand, through direct contact with the soil, with forests, farms, gardens, water, plants, and animals. What an adventure to experience the life cycle of a plant, from sowing, growing, harvesting, preparing, and finally composting. Or learn to recognize the wild herbs along the way and to feel the healing effects on our own body. Cross-species communication is an integral part of learning. Any craftsman's establishment can become an extended classroom. All forms of creative and artistic expression are welcomed, taught, and encouraged. There are theatrical performances in which the young people can also solve questions about the architecture of the stage or learn to make costumes. Children are encouraged to form small orchestras and choirs. Some discover their talents as dancers, theater painters, or makeup artists. Others test their skills as technicians or organizers. At the open learning locations, intergenerational connections are forged. Here, people of different ages meet jointly to implement projects that can also serve the general public. These open learning locations are impulse-giving centers of social life. This is also a place where new ideas for social life are developed and shared with the community and the local, and, depending on the potential, also with the national councils of wise ones. Humans no longer perceive themselves in their development as loose elements of a system, but as a creative designer of a large living organism. Main subjects of the previous schools, such as reading, arithmetic, writing, or foreign languages, integrate naturally into the exciting learning experience. Reading and writing is often learned, for example, in order to understand or write languages, recipes, or texts on various interesting projects. Arithmetic needs to be learned to build objects in nature or indoors. Sacred geometry is experienced as the basic building block of matter and also of biology, physics, when designing or building a new type of machine. Children are motivated to pass on their new knowledge to other children. Access to computer tools is to be avoided until the age of 12, while creativity, imagination, inspiration, and intuition are stimulated and encouraged. Above all, the individual strength of the children are emphasized. Making mistakes is a natural and important learning process. We differentiate between an initial phase of education in which a child is lovingly accompanied in a protected environment and encouraged to discover in a playful way who they are and what they are interested in. Natural and practical life is the great teacher. Then, from around the age of 12, the technical or university training phase follows. Instead of exams or grades, there are festive occasions where the young people individually or in groups present what they have done, created, learned, or practiced. Particularly important is the formation of the heart, the development of a new awareness of being interconnected to all life and the understanding of being. For this purpose, the following courses for being human in harmony with nature and the laws of nature are developed, which are recommended to all people of all age groups. Courses for a new consciousness. In cooperation with brain researchers, peace researchers, therapists, happiness researchers, and coaches from various directions, courses are developed that promote a new awareness of being human and of human evolution in harmony with nature and the laws of nature. This new awareness is brought closer to all people, especially caregivers, teachers, in order to optimally prepare them for their important task. The courses for being human include, for example, the following areas: heart intelligence, intuition and joy, finding the individual purpose of life, non-violent communication, the origin of violence, bullying, racism and their healing, knowledge of the structures and levels of consciousness, family constellations, emotional work, mindfulness and meditation, shadow work and trauma release, breathing and healing work, sexuality and its sacred dimension, the principles of life energy, dealing with dreams and alternative states of consciousness, insights into different worldviews, considerations of reality, the laws of nature and the cosmic laws and cycles, ritual studies and practice, communication with animals and other forms of consciousness, health and nutrition in harmony with nature, sustainable living and self-responsibility, reduction of possession, letting go and true fulfillment, the return of the sacred feminine and masculine in our society, conscious parenting. The courses for human evolution include, for example, the following areas: we culture, new forms of coexistence and cooperation, the development of new social structures, development of a new conscious democracy, development of healthy and sustainable monetary systems, healing of destroyed nature, development of sustainable agricultural systems, building biology and geomancy, development of exemplary places of work and living. These courses which are oriented towards the well-being and development of all life in every point, are then provided to the children and young people in the learning locations, the new nature kindergartens, forest schools, and adventure spaces. The new universities. There's no phenomenon that doesn't interact with all levels of being. Therefore, an integral view and the cooperation of all sciences is promoted. For example, the university education system for health professions is undergoing an urgent paradigm shift. The new knowledge of quantum physics, epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, and consciousness research, as well as new medicine, are now being integrated. In agricultural training, only sustainable practices that are in harmony with all life are taught. Special attention is paid to the fascinating qualities of humus, seeds, plants and water, and their wonderful synergy. The previous reductionist educational approach has been replaced by a holistic perspective on the principles of life. Instead of the law of the fittest, the principle of cooperation is now taught as the basis of education. Only people who feel joyfully called to teach now do so. Every teacher is supported to learn innovative forms of teaching in order to be able to support their students in the best possible way. Knowledge is taught in such a way that it allows free opening to new eras of knowledge. Questioning existing scientific principles is not only accepted, but even encouraged. In this way, we can reach new horizons of human knowledge together. The new universities are therefore workshops for the future, in which researchers, university professors, students and pupils, driven by joy and natural curiosity, develop fresh impulses and ideas for the future of all of us through collective intelligence. Research into free energy will resume. Research is also being carried out onto other renewable energies that have no or only minimal impact on the environment. Science, research and universities are independent of political or industrial interests in terms of finance and content. However, the various areas cooperate to develop new ideas for our collective future. The cultural expression of people. Culture, creativity, imagination, inspiration and intuition are the forces of our prospective development and bear at least the same significance as our intellectual development. Art in general, such as theater, music, dance, literature and architecture, serve human expression, heart development and inspiration. Films are produced with the awareness that they have a direct influence on the subconsciousness. We respect and revive the diverse myth, the culturally different worldviews of ancient and recent cultures, and the ancient customs, dances, songs and languages of our ancestors, knowing that our deep roots hold us and give us support in the now. We're grateful in exchange with indigenous people who still are in deep connection with nature. We learn respectfully from each other, and the new knowledge is applied to heal people and nature. For a better understanding of other cultures and customs, and to experience the abundance of beauty of our earth, exchange stays for school children, students and adults are offered. These new experiences and newly gained knowledge are then shared with other people in public lectures or exhibitions. Cultural exchange visits from people from other cultures are encouraged. Special attention is also given to the promotion of craftsmanship. Instead of selling cheap, mass-produced goods, handicrafts are being promoted, which not only have a longer life expectancy and are made of noble, natural materials, but in which the person behind the craft can be felt. This also reestablishes an appreciative relationship with the objects with which we surround ourselves with. Young people learn manual skills in the new schools, the learning locations. This also offers the possibility of integrating other subjects in a playful way. For example, you can practice fractions while cooking, learn something about length and angles while carpentering, about biodiversity, annual cycles, sun and photosynthesis, or humus buildup when planning greenhouses or vegetable patches. Everyone who feels their true calling and who wants to make it their new profession receives support from the community. Retirement homes are transformed into houses of life that are fully integrated into the community. Growing older is no longer associated with frailty and senility, but with maturity and wisdom. Wherever possible, aging people should stay with their families and communities and, if necessary, be locally supported by well-trained caregivers. For caregiving members of the family, courses are offered that teach them skills to support the relatives both on a physical level, for example with the regeneration of the musculoskeletal system, and on a mental and spiritual level. In the prospective houses of life, healthy food will be cooked in community and gardening work will be done together. Kindergarten and schools, but also animal parks are, whenever possible, attached to these living houses. For example, children learn to read with the elderly or find among them music teachers, craftsmen, engineers, firefighters, pilots, or people who tell them about their interesting jobs and do practical exercises with them. Older people are also given the opportunity to catch up on what they missed out in their younger years. People with disabilities are integrated into society. The view on disability is changing. It is seen as a unique otherness that everyone involved, from families to institutions and society, appreciates. People who cannot see may teach us to feel more intensely or to hear a space. Many people with disabilities teach us to feel the silence. Their presence helps us to perceive our own presence. Often they trigger our shadows and teach us to jump over these shadows. Therapists, nurses, doctors, and companions are trained to support people with disabilities in a positive and future-oriented way. People with disabilities should be able to live independently if possible. Adapted housing and residential communities integrated into a healthy natural environment are made available for them, and it is ensured that they can participate in the everyday life. Furthermore, adapted fitness centers offer programs that help people with disabilities to regain greater flexibility. Wherever possible, suitable adaptations are made in public spaces. New forms of travel. Travelers choose the most environmentally friendly means of transport. It is no longer about the speed of the journey, but about the wealth of interactions along the way. Instead of consuming, travel is now becoming an opportunity to get to know other people, new cultures, exciting landscapes or ecosystems, and to discover oneself in the process. Many people travel for humanitarian or ecological purposes. There's a lot to clean up and to heal on our earth. Through our journeys, we become so truly aware of how the earth gifts us, and how we as human beings can not only take, but also give in equal measure. People in exploited countries regain their self-determination. People from former third world countries are supported in becoming independent from other countries or organizations and in feeling recognized and worthy again. Poverty doesn't exist anymore. As soon as people are self-aware and have learned how to grow their own food and how to organize things among themselves, peace will return to the world. Chapter 3: Production Cycles, Economy. The natural cycle. What withers in autumn is converted back into humus by the soil organisms, so that healthy, nutrient-rich fruits can ripen again in the next year. Inspired by the cradle-to-cradle principle, what was considered waste becomes a nutrient for new production cycles. In a new social system that takes responsibility for people and nature, only consumer goods are bought that are really needed. These are manufactured sustainably and last very long time, can be repaired, and all parts are recyclable. We remember the wisdom of our ancestors and learn to make our own body care and cleaning products with natural ingredients. Expandable goods, such as cleaning agents, shampoos or personal care products and their packaging, are made from naturally renewable raw materials and, after being used, are returned to the earth through composting. Consumer goods, such as cars, washing machines and computers, are made durable and repairable from so-called technical nutrients. At the end of their service life, new devices are manufactured using a recycling process that is gentle to people and nature. Whenever possible, food is offered free of packaging and can be filled into containers that have to be brought along. All unavoidable packaging materials are recyclable, refillable, or compostable. Production is generally based on the 5R principle. First, refuse. Second, reduce. Third, reuse. Fourth, repurpose. Fifth, recycle. The longevity of devices is promoted, and products are manufactured in such a way that they have a 10-year guarantee and can be easily repaired. Every qualified craftsman will be able to make these devices functional again using instructions provided by the manufacturer. All foods find their eaters. They are no longer simply thrown away or burned. The farmers produce the amount of food, if possible, after consultation with their customers. Food that is not sold is given free of charge to those in need or animals, or is composted and thus returned directly to the earth. The goal of a company is no longer primarily profit, but the real satisfaction of customers' needs, the happiness of employees, and the enduring health of the earth. Companies are led by people who work together cooperatively, pursue the same vision, and maintain a good and respectful relationship with their customers, suppliers, other partners, and also with each other. They have one thing in common: the joy of their work and their compassion for fellow human beings, all life, and Mother Earth. They act at eye level and trust each other. They develop and optimize their processes so that they become more efficient and truly sustainable. They respect the individual characteristics of each person and take them into account. Hierarchy, in a classical sense, no longer exists. Everyone has a share in the success. As long as there is still money, the level of participation is jointly agreed. We support regional manufacturers by no longer importing products that can be produced locally in sufficient quantities. Strictly, there's nothing bought or imported from producers who exploit people, animals, and nature. Products that have been treated with pesticides or are genetically modified are no longer imported. Only small and medium-sized production and service companies are funded. Discount chains and corporations are no longer needed and are therefore dissolved. In the cities, food cooperatives and shopping groups are formed that purchase their products directly from the craftsmen and from organic farms within the region. Computer apps help to locate producers of specialities and organize joint deliveries. More and more regional shops are being opened with predominantly local products. People are producing transparently and in line with people's needs. This establishes a relationship to all living beings and to the foundations of life, to earth, water, the sun and air, which are involved in the creation of the products. Research and development of renewable and sustainable energy. The best energy policy is saving energy. In the transition phase, energy taxes accelerate the saving process. Additional energy tax revenues are initially used for the development and construction of sustainable energy systems and energy-saving courses for citizens, later into further local infrastructures activities. In the near future, fossil fuels will no longer be used. Decentralized, self-sufficient power supply networks are refined and rolled out, with their main functions available, independent of the Internet. Every village, every community, and every district can thus be self-sufficient with renewable energy. Patents of suppressed technologies and inventions that contribute to the solution of energy problems and the healing of man and earth are generously made available to mankind, further developed and put to use. Sustainable transport. Research is promoted into emission-free and, in terms of production, completely sustainable means of transport. On the outskirts of the cities, there are free parking spaces with good connections to the public transport network. The bike lanes are being expanded and there are numerous car-sharing initiatives. Public transport will be offered for free. Here too, the focus must be on the region. Production takes place in our own region. Here is where we find our favorite service providers and our jobs. This means we need less transport. We save commuting traffic, energy. We need fewer cars. We have less noise, less pollution, fewer traffic fatalities, and less stress. Here too, in the transition phase, the aforementioned energy tax will help to automatically minimize the transport routes. The economy, once again, is put into the service of direct exchange. Economy is here to serve to satisfy each other's needs. Instead of competitors, the companies see themselves as partners. They thrive through collaboration and cooperation. Chapter 4. Living Spaces. New green villages. Around existing cities, so-called new villages are emerging, in which people connect and cooperate. This may include a restructuring of existing villages, an ecologicalization of old building structures, or the ecological construction of new villages, whereby working out the genius loci is a must. The quality of each place in interaction with its surroundings and the human longing for beauty, as well as its geomantic peculiarities. Here, communities of 100 to 150 people are formed. It is so pleasant to live in these eco-places connected with nature, with their paradise-like garden landscapes and loving neighborhoods, that they attract a growing number of people who long for this harmony with themselves and the living beings around them. Housing, development of potential, work, culture and community take place in the neighborhood. This strengthens the community, decentralizes cities, and at the same time also promotes quality of life, saves time and money, and reduces traffic. The architecture with sustainable building materials takes in account the experiences of Feng Shui, Vastu, and healing geometry. New buildings are constructed 100% according to ecological guidelines, as positive energy houses, or at least with minimal energy consumption and maximum water efficiency. This also includes composting toilets. For every new built area, an area of at least the same size is renaturalized, ensuring that at least the same biodiversity can thrive there. The new villages consider the healing of the earth, as well as build-up of humus, among their main tasks. In and around these new villages, nutrient-rich vegetable, fruits, nuts and berries are grown in healthy soil, according to ecological guidelines, and then sold regionally or in the village's own organic food shop. Besides providing food, the fields also contribute significantly to the production of building materials like high-quality insulating materials such as hemp, flax and straw. If the geology of the land is suitable, the excavated material of buildings or a bathing lake can be used as earthen material for the construction of houses. We propose that farmers make 5 to 20% of their agricultural land available to neighborhood communities in exchange for rent or labor to grow crops, plant community gardens, or keep animals. Here in the new villages, people are trained to teach others about humus building, composting, and organic farming. Springs and village fountains are considered special places that are made freely accessible to all and are specially maintained and constantly tested to guarantee the purity of the water. Geomantic power places are valued and support us to unfold and thrive. Forest areas around the villages are serving as recreational and healing spaces for the people and are honored by them. As much as possible is shared collectively, such as workspaces, communal rooms for encounters and cultural activities, agricultural equipment, tools, rarely used kitchen appliances, cars, etc. People support each other again, as was the case in the past with harvest work, building a barn, etc., and thus create bonds of community and solidarity. Both in the countryside with its villages and in the cities, cooking and gardening communities are formed. The elders stay in a community. Children and young people learn from their rich experience and in turn inspire the adults. To facilitate communication and administration within the village and the region, the inhabitants are offered courses from the most successful communication methods, such as non-violent communication, holacracy, sociocracy, viable system model, or decision by consent, as well as courses on building a regional infrastructure. The woofing principle makes it easy for people to work on organic farms around the world in exchange for room and board, to learn local farming methods and cultural characteristics, and to network. It will be easy for people to start alternative housing projects such as eco-communities, tiny house settlements, or to live in a nomadic way. Green cities. From now on, we begin to intensively green our cities. The old and new trees filter toxic particulates, ensure a healthy microclimate, offer shade and provide oxygen. The leaves serve as a nutrient to build humus in a city. The root areas of existing trees are freed from asphalt and concrete. Urban gardening transforms our cities into edible cities. The cultivation of vegetables, fruits, berries and nuts, and the keeping of bees within the cities are encouraged. Be it in parks, in the former industrial areas, which are often located on very fertile soil, in free urban spaces, in backyards, on roofs, balconies, on facades in vertical or raised beds, along wide sidewalks. Urban composting is organized in the same way as recycling. Residents are trained and involved in maintenance, resulting in joint projects such as a cocotarium, a collective chicken co-op for recycled leftover food, producing fresh eggs and creating social connections. The large urban gardens contain their own restaurants or cafes, offering fresh local and regional produce. Townspeople connect with farmers and agricultural communities to gain access to products that cannot be grown or produced in a city. In both city and countryside, Consumers and farmers form purchasing groups or so-called CSA communities, community-supported agriculture groups, through which every farmer receives a fixed monthly amount from the community that they need to buy seeds, to till the fields, to harvest and process their produce, and to be able to live well with their family and animals. In return, each member of the community receives a sufficient amount of seasonal produce. Parents with large living spaces, whose children have moved out and who do not already provide their living space to the use for non-profit purposes such as courses or conferences, are encouraged to rent their unoccupied living space to other people. In this way, new shared apartments can be formed. Co-working spaces invite networking and offer pleasant workplaces. In the city and in the country, repair cafes are formed, in which tinkerers or IT specialists repair broken devices or other things. Physical and digital swap circles make it easier to find or pass on used items. Knowledge exchange networks facilitate the transfer of knowledge and the connection of global and local initiatives, as well as finding and working out solutions among like-minded people. You can find well-developed bike paths everywhere, as well as car-sharing initiatives for transports or trips to the country. Each region is encouraged to secure the food and basic needs of the people as self-sufficiently as possible. Chapter 5: Administration. A new form of stewardship is emerging, inspired by the intelligence of nature, biomimicry, and in resonance with the universal principles of nature. In order to avoid lobbying in politics, a new, transparent form of administration is needed, an administration in which a party system is obsolete. Positions are held by people who have proven in the past that they are not only highly competent and responsible, but also capable of thinking beyond their actual area of expertise, while having demonstrated that they are lovingly concerned about the well-being and health of all life. Each elected representative serves the will of the people. There is no financial incentive to become a representative of the people. A working group ensures that there can be no abuse of power. There is transparency for all about every action relevant to all people that is carried out by the elected or selected representatives. Every representative of the people takes personal responsibility for their actions. This prevents laws being passed which only benefit the economy, but harm the basis of life, plants, animal or people. At the same time, every representative who has this great responsibility is supported by a council of wise ones. There is a council of wise ones for every important topic. The councils of wise ones are composed of committed and competent women and men for whom the well-being of all life is the basis of their thoughts and actions. These people remain and live up to their responsibility even when the house is on fire. Its members represent the diversity of the community, people of all ages and life experiences, thinkers and practitioners who are able to address the challenges and solutions of each popular group. They are formed around relevant topics such as agriculture, energy, health, transport, development of potential, peace, etc. The Constitution of the New Earth. The first task of each Council of Wise Ones is to write the proposal for a constitution that is based on the universal principles of nature and equally respects people and nature. The people of the country vote on this constitution. The New Earth Manifesto may serve as the basis for this new constitution. Everyone can actively shape their region, their country, and the new earth. All regions of the earth are healthy and full of beauty. No one has to leave their home anymore because of war, pollution, poverty, slavery, or for economic reasons. Our vision is that one day there will be no more borders, because we understand that planet Earth cares for all of us. And we all are part of the human family. Every resident of a country is invited to contribute their constructive ideas and express their wishes on all important issues. We are moving from a democracy of delegation to an active system of cooperation and engagement. Everyone has the opportunity to find out via a digital platform what the Council of Wise Ones are currently engaged in and has the ability to contribute constructively and actively. The administration of villages, regions and country is structured simply, clearly and efficiently. Already at a local level, there's a Council of Wise Ones for every relevant topic in life. These Council of Wise Ones are in close communication with the population and with the Council of Wise Ones in the large regions. The Council of Wise Ones in the large regions are in close communication with the Council of Wise Ones of the country. A participatory culture of decision-making. For this purpose, existing models of decision-making such as sociocracy, holacracy, Yamagishi-kai, dragon dreaming or viable system model are being tested in practice and developed further, both in the decision-making process and in the practical implementation of the decision. The guiding principle is always applied. Each of our actions and every law is always oriented towards the good of all life. In respect, compassion and mindfulness for the earth and her diversity, in love, truth, freedom, equality, fraternity, peace. Chapter 6. Law, Guardians of Law and Peacekeepers. The new legal system integrates the universal principles of nature and forms the structure for a new, healthy and just social organism in which people and nature are equally respected. The legal system serves the entire living organism of the earth. It harmonizes the various interests and ever new life impulses. For example, it is ensured that the interests of the economy or the development of potential are not pursued at the expense of nature. Legal life ensures that all people, regardless of gender, skin color, sexual, intellectual or spiritual orientation, always have equal rights and opportunities. Furthermore, it ensures a healthy relationship between economy and health, development of potential and living spaces. The new precepts are clearly structured, simply written and easy to understand. They are based on a new constitution and are written by a special Council of Wise Ones, which is in close communication with all other thematically specialized Council of Wise Ones and then submitted to the sovereign people of the country for a vote. The Guardians of Law, formerly policemen, in the service of life. The Guardians of Law assume their role as friends and helpers of people, animals, plants, water, air, landscapes, forests and soil, and support the rebuilding of all areas of life. They are at the service of the constitution and laws decided by the sovereign people. Both the Guardians of Law and the Guardians of Peace are in the service of life and complete the courses for a new consciousness, as well as special additional training in non-violent communication, peacekeeping, mediation and boosts developing skills and becoming more open to social and global challenges. The peacekeepers, formerly military, in the service for peace. There is no way to peace, because peace is the way. Mahatma Gandhi. Once we have achieved a new consciousness for life, we direct our hearts and minds, all our actions, all our institutions towards peace. The peacekeepers help build humanitarian, social and ecological structures worldwide during the transition phase. There are no more armed missions in foreign countries. Peacekeepers do not respond to violence with force, but with wisdom, inner strength and compassion, and support fair balance of interests. Should peacekeepers in the transition phase still be called upon to do something that, to their moral or ethical sensibilities, is not just, not justifiable, or not in the best interests for all life, then they may communicate this openly. Their concerns will be heard and an improvement worked out together. If no consensus can be found, they are free not to participate further in this operation. With the disappearance of borders, weapons of mass destruction become obsolete, as planet Earth is recognized as the home of all people. The weapons that were once used to destroy a region are now recycled, and the equipment made from them is used to rebuild the same region. Truly fulfilled people do not crave for more land or power or feel the need to rule over anyone. Peace is restored. Peace in conflicts. The pacifization of conflict is also about identifying and healing the causes of the conflict or the act. Techniques such as mediation, family constellations, and forgiveness rituals such as Ho'oponopono are used for this purpose. Potential development centers instead of prisons. Centers for the development of potential are established, where people who have committed criminal acts undergo an intensive healing program for resocialization. Activities such as creative arts, meditation and other spiritual practices, courses in non-violent communication and inner peace, social services, theater, dance or music enable them to remember their good qualities as a human being and to express the best in them. At the same time, they are offered the opportunity to pass on knowledge and beneficial skills to others, thereby strengthening self-confidence and self-esteem. In the fields and forest gardens around these potential development centers, fruits and vegetables are grown by the people in the center and can be used to supply not only the centers themselves, but also the surrounding communities. The promotion of habitat and biodiversity is at the center of thought and action. Contact with and care for animals makes it possible to get back in touch with feelings. Chapter 7. Money System. True fulfillment doesn't come from external sources or can be bought with money, but comes from a deep connection with other beings and the earth, from an inner focus on our purpose in life. It comes from living with an open heart and from the joy of giving. Our focus has changed from making money to living a meaningful life, which is oriented towards the well-being of all life. In the transition phase, a new financial architecture is developed. For this purpose, currency systems that are in development or are already being developed are tested regionally. Together with regional producers, craftsmen, service providers and consumers, these will be further developed until a well-functioning system is found that can also be easily applied supra-regionally. This new financial architecture will ensure the regeneration of the planet and the livelihood of all beings, healthy food, through money creation that is decoupled from interest and debt system. We are introducing a new monetary system, a new serving full money as cash and clearing system gets a real measure of value, for example, aligned to a defined organic food basket. The money supply is controlled in such a way that the food basket, once defined, always keeps the same price. So there's no more inflation or deflation. Interests on loans or credit balances, as well as speculation, are abolished after the transition phase. One model for testing future money creation is presented by the Gradido system. Here, money creation follows simple rules. A good sum of money is created for each person every month. 1/3 of the money created is used for a basic income for this person. The second third is for the community and administration, for the healing rooms, the places of learning, the universities, road construction, etc. This also means that no more taxes have to be paid. The third goes into renaturation, healing and preservation of our environment, nature and environment protection thus become a flourishing branch of industry. The new monetary system is oriented towards the natural cycle of growth and decay. An ideal percentage is also found by which the money supply is reduced every year. So it makes no sense to hoard money. It is better to keep it in constant motion, to lend it, to participate in projects, or to give it away. Everyone is provided for at all times. So there's no need to accumulate money to prevent bad times. The priority in our new culture is the health and the development of people's potential. Intelligent taxes. No human being pays taxes or social contributions anymore, because with his second third of the money created, administration, etc. are already financed. In the transition phase, production companies whose activities harm people, animals, plants and livelihoods pay regeneration taxes that serve to heal and rebuild. Basic income. Every person, regardless of age, is entitled to an unconditional basic income. This covers the basic maintenance costs and enables a dignified life. The basic income is based on the principle of give and take. Every person is free to contribute to the common good according to his or her nature. For example, some people like to work in nature regeneration projects with people in need, in administration, in road construction or the development of a community square. Others bake bread, make music or develop new designs or life-enhancing technologies that serve the community. All activities foster a sense of doing something truly meaningful and strengthen a sense of connection and solidarity between all beings. Other people prefer to, quote Gradido, put all their time into their professional activities because they earn more there, because they are needed more there, because it is more fun for them or whatever reason. Everyone is free to choose. Since money is in overflowing abundance, it has become less important. We all have become more generous and have enormous fun in giving. The land can only belong to the earth herself. We did not inherit the earth from our ancestors. Rather, we have borrowed it from our children. Land cannot belong to anyone, and therefore it can no longer be speculated with. The land is the basis of life for all of us. Instead of ownership, we humans are given the administration right over a piece of land for professional or residential use. We take responsibility for this land, perceive ourselves as loving and attentive guardians of this place on earth, and protect and care for all living beings on this place. Above a size that has yet to be determined, all land is transferred to foundations for the liberation of the soil. The local council of wise ones decide with the board of trustees which humus and society building projects, such as community gardens or orchards, shall be implemented there. At least 10% of each piece of land is given back to nature and its beings after it has been made fertile again, and where humankind no longer intervenes in the natural order. Protected livelihoods. Companies, streets, springs, raw material deposits, rental houses, etc. are the basis of life and economy, and no longer commercial objects that make our lives expensive and manipulable. We ourselves find legal forms that protect those common goods. Crowdfunding and open source. Large crowdfunding, crowd-investing platforms make it easier for entrepreneurs to obtain the funds for their projects and to be in contact with their sponsors. Other platforms offer courses, images, films, software, etc. in open source, which, as the name suggests, can be freely used for everyone. In this way, creative works and new inventions can be quickly spread around the world. Donations are also gladly left here for the creators. Donating is easy for us, and then there's the feeling of happiness of having helped others. The use of money is seen in an increasingly playful way. Chapter 8. Media. Freedom of the press, diversity of opinion, and independent reporting are once again the focus of the mission. The media are called upon to be carriers of positive solutions for the transformation on Earth and the regeneration of life, as well as to report on successful projects and solutions. Media houses and journalists are financially independent and free. If media houses receive in the transition phase financial support from the economy or politics, they must officially disclose its source. This provides clarity as to whom, which investor, the content of the newspaper articles, radio or television programs may be of service to. Journalists are free and have no financial or ideological dependency on any newspaper, broadcaster or internet portal. They are funded by culture and can work for multiple media organizations at the same time. Freedom of the press, diversity of opinion, independent reporting, and transparency. During the corona crisis, we became increasingly aware that the media has the power to massively manipulate everyone individually, as well as nearly the entire population. Therefore, there must be no more unilateral, manipulative, and destructive propaganda or censorship. Finding information from more than one source is fundamental, because the different perspectives on a topic usually give us more insight than we gain by reading similar articles. Hearing different opinions and weighing them against our own experience and perception trains our minds and can expand our worldview enormously. Journalists remember their responsibility in forming opinions and prove themselves worthy of it. If they state their own opinion, this has to be clearly marked as such. Facts can be checked. Sources are communicated transparently. Truly investigative journalists are valued. People who are courageous and curious to uncover irregularities, do in-depth research, get an on-site picture and, ideally, also document possible solutions. The media actively participates in the dissemination of positive solutions and encourages living in personal responsibility. State support is only given to media that refrain from reporting luridly about dangers, catastrophes, accidents or crime, but rather report about positive events, successful projects and solutions. During the annual flu season or potential pandemics, information on strengthening the immune system, prevention and healing is communicated. In addition, opinions and advice, warnings and healing successes from competent and independent doctors, virologists, immunologists, etc. are incorporated. Young people are encouraged not to blindly believe public or social media, but to form their own opinions. Media reports are always questioned. From what perspective and with what intention is something written? What does this media want me to believe? And cui bono? Whom does it serve if I believe this? Is the post trying to activate emotions? What does my common sense say? What does the intelligence of my heart tell me? Social media platforms. Publishing material glorifying violence to humans and animals, as well as any direct or indirect call for pedophilia, is prohibited on all media platforms. Platform providers are not allowed to arbitrarily censor content or users by themselves or be corrected by superior authorities other than transparent, independent institutions. Everyone has the right to move around in their environment without being influenced by advertising. Advertising in public places will be discontinued with immediate effect. Signs that lead to local businesses remain. Advertisements on radio and TV stations are announced in advance and provided with a timestamp in order to give listeners or viewers the opportunity to evade them in good time. Advertising on the internet is only shown after a prior, clear declaration of readiness given by the user. Chapter 9. The Guiding Principle. Each of our actions and every law is always oriented towards the good of all life. In respect, compassion and mindfulness for the earth and her diversity, in love, truth, freedom, equality, fraternity, peace. If you too want to live on such an earth, sign up right now on thenewearthmanifesto.com. Become part of the just arising, solution-oriented networking platform Living Earth, which is based on the manifesto. Here you will find practical suggestions and inspirations for implementing all the topics of the manifesto, links to existing projects, and you will find like-minded people with whom you can network and start your own projects. Let's create our paradise together.
Mother Earth, do you have a voice that we can hear? Can we hear your laughter and your tears? And would you like it if we all came nearer? Mother Earth, you know we're trying hard to do our best, though we as souls are suffering from our past. We search for love and peace that lasts. Hey, 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 hey,
Ich sehe die Welt in Frieden. Ich bin I see the world in peace. I am peace. I vedo il mondo in pace. Je vois le monde en paix. Je suis la paix. Je suis veo el mundo en paz. Io sono